once again brought to you by PaintballToTheEnd.com.
March, episode number 31. I am Jeff.
And I'm Paul. And today we've got a different kind of episode for you. And it's also a very difficult one to do because I also love Marty Jannetty. And I think the Rockers is probably the greatest tag team, if not the greatest. But there was some recent Facebook drama. And this is the kind of drama Marty doesn't seem to get away from. And for the details and such, I'm going to turn it over to Jeff.
Anyone who is a Facebook fan of Marty Jannetty
or MySpace,
do not give him your phone number. I tell you this for a couple of reasons. A couple of years ago, me and Marty have been friends on MySpace for a while. But he decided to let it go in a blog about a girl that said he would meet him somewhere and didn't show up. So he decided to put her number on Facebook. Needless to say, all these cronies and all these lackeys of Marty Jannetty's decided to call this girl and leave her all kinds of messages. I didn't approve of this at the time, and I still don't. But what makes it worse now is that last week on Facebook, he decides to let all this drama go into public about him and Tanaka. Him and Pat Tanaka being of the Orient Express.
Yep.
And decided to post his number on Facebook as well. And of course, all these cronies and lackeys of Marty Jannetty's decided that they're going to call Tanaka now and leave him all kinds of messages.
Some nasty, some sexual, some everything else.
Yeah. I didn't approve of this either. Not only because it's borderline illegal. It is very unchristian-like. Mr. Marty, I got baptized a few years ago, and I'm a Christian now. And I just really disapproved of all of it. I wasn't the only one. He had a couple people on his site call him a jerk. Tell him that he's now a bigger jerk than James Hellwig, which is saying a lot. But honestly, at this time, I can't disagree with him. Because that's just something, you don't post anyone's number on Facebook for all the world to see, especially when you got as many fans and friends as he does. And while I agree, he had, everybody knows I'm a big fan of his. Not as much anymore. And it's not really all that surprising. But it does say a lot about why he couldn't keep a job in WWE or anywhere else. I've heard all these interviews about all these stories and excuses he's had for why he didn't keep this job and why he didn't keep that job. Well, Marty, you just put out for the whole world to see why you don't keep jobs. Because common sense seems to be lacking just a little bit in your life. Pat Tanaka could probably sue the hell out of you for that right now if he wanted to.
Doc dropping, which is basically, dropping someone's information on the internet. That pretty much is illegal. And I was hoping he'd be past this ever since the New York girlfriend thing. I don't know if it was girlfriend, but
right.
Girl that he knew. But here he's doing it with someone who probably has a little bit more financial, I don't know about financial say, but celebrity say.
Right.
And he could easily, like he said, just turn around and sue him. And he'd probably win.
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention, you put it out there for everyone else to see, and you put on, and I should have saved it, but he actually put his number there and said, hey, go spam him for me, misfits, and Marty.
And the thing was, he's bringing this whole story about how Tanaka's screwing these people over. Well, we really need to know that.
Yeah.
That needs to be public knowledge. If there's something going on between you and Pat, keep it between you and Pat.
Yeah, don't be a mark and tell everyone else, all the other marks out there what's going on.
That.
Yeah.
And see, that's another thing he could be sued over? Defamation of character.
Yeah.
Making information like that public.
Mm-hmm. Quite honestly, Marty, just on one final note, there was an old MySpace blog Marty put on there where he said he talked to Sean, and I think it was after the baptism thing, and Sean had said something like, well, maybe you shouldn't have a MySpace. And he's like, well, maybe I should listen to him. You know what? You should listen to him, because I think if you continue doing this behavior, you're going to get caught. Mm-hmm. Probably with your pants down, too. Mm-hmm. But that's all I have to say about that.
Yeah. Another interesting bit we had. We caught an interview on an MMA website with Paul Heyman. Mm-hmm. Like a radio show. It was very interesting, some of the things he had to say. As usual, the host of the show brought up TNA and what Paul Heyman would do if he weren't in TNA.
Yeah.
And Paul basically said, I would kick out the old guys, and he related it to the New York Yankees. He basically related it to Derek Jeter and A-Rod of the Yankees. And how, do you really want someone on your team who's already hit 600 home runs or who's going to hit 600 more? And it's not really a good analogy to me. And he brought up the fact of someone getting angry if they don't hit 600 home runs. Mm-hmm. I don't like that analogy for a couple reasons. It's like anyone associated, or anyone who knows anything about baseball right now knows who Buster Posey is. He just won the World Series with the Giants as a catcher. And he's a top Rookie of the Year candidate, along with Jason Hayward of the Braves. Now, you put those two guys on the Yankees. Now, yeah, they're going to be great players for you in the future, but right now, who are the fans coming out to see?
Right.
They're coming out to see A-Rod and Jeter and Mariano, Mark Teixeira, the veterans on the team, the established stars. Okay? And it's kind of ironic he's bringing this up while Derek Jeter's going through contract negotiations, but still. Who are they seeing right? Who are they coming out to see? And in pro wrestling especially, where there are no stats, so there are no, numbers, you want to stick with the stars who people are going to come out and see. And that would be Hogan. Not so much Hall and Nash anymore, but definitely Hogan. Yeah. And Heyman was talking about how he wanted to clear the locker room of anyone over 40 and get all young talent in there. Which I can kind of understand that. That was the way he was in ECW as well. Yeah. But at the same time, are you really going to do away with your moneymaker like Hogan? I don't see that happening myself. I really don't see that happening.
Take, for example, just a short, quick example, since he's already covered some of it, but I'm a Celtics fan, right? And if I was in control of the Celtics, would I want to get rid of Ray Allen for a young guy? At this point, I wouldn't want to get rid of him, but I would groom a younger guy that's really good at shooting and kind of mold him and shape him at that point. But at the same time, I wouldn't cut Ray's head off.
Right.
I would keep him around. And Paul Pierce he's still under, I think he's like 34 or 35 now, right, or whatever age he is. But he's not 37 yet. So it's kind of a bad analogy because, wrestling, it's a little bit different. You're on the road a lot. I'm probably not as much as like the WWF years or WCW years, right, but you're still on for about 260 some odd days a year. Or in the case of TNA, maybe like 100. Right. Whereas in baseball, it is a physical sport, but you're not bumping your back on the mat like 30 times a week or whatever. And so some of those stars, I think, can live a little bit longer. They can make it to 40, and then they can decide whether they can still go or not. Whereas when you're a wrestler and you kind of make it to 40, it's like, unless you're someone like Ric Flair, or Kurt Angle, it's kind of like, your days are almost numbered. So it's kind of an unfair comparison from that angle of it, that aspect of it. Otherwise, I really liked his interview. It was done with Ariel Helwani. He was the same guy that interviewed Taker after the Lesnar match. And but he brought up a couple interesting points that I really liked. He thought that they should have built up the Motor City Machine Guns more. Right. Because this one particular TNA Impact that I remember, I kind of didn't like the ending so much because TNA tends to end in a brawl, and that kind of annoys me a little bit. And his idea, instead of having the show end with Flair and the Fortune, I almost said Four Horsemen, having it end with Flair and Fortune, you know, beating up Tommy Dreamer and them, I kind of didn't like that. But his idea was that since it was the final match, it was the rubber match for the Motor City Machine Guns and Beer Money, have them be the main event. Of course, they're the young guys. Right. Not only that, but during the show you could have Ric Flair say, you know, I'm really busy with this idea, and the interviewer could be like, well, what do you think of this? He goes, well, I do want to see that. And have him be like sort of like not really praise him because he's the heel, but be kind of like annoyed that he's being interviewed, but be like, okay, yeah, I would see that. Yeah, you know,
looking forward to seeing Beer Money beat the crap out of Motor City Machine Guns.
Yeah, put it from there. Yeah, Beer Money, they're awesome.
Promote the match while trying to put Beer Money over.
Yeah, exactly. And then have Hogan be like, man, I hope Motor City Machine Guns beat him, brother. You know, and they could have done that, and you could have had maybe a little bit of interference. I wouldn't put more than one or two guys interfering, but other than that, keep it pretty clean. And I think that would have been a better way for
make the tag team titles a main event.
Yeah,
at least for one night, which it's deserving of. I mean, they used to do that back in the old WWE days. They put the tag team titles as a main event, you know, on like a Superstars or something.
Yeah,
you know, have it do that on Impact. Make the tag team belts worth something.
Yeah. And part of the interview that they also talked about was they were talking about MMA and if it's on Vince's radar. And of course, Paul Heyman says it's not really on his radar. But I think with a few other wrestlers using like chokeholds and you got Taker using the triangle hold thing. I forget what he calls it, like Hell's Gate or something like. And you have Samoa Joe doing something similar to the Taz Mission. I think. If limited, I think wrestling could use a little more. I think Paul Heyman's right on that. Because WWE is doing less numbers than they used to. Not just the TNA as well, but I mean, speaking from the big company point of view, WWE doesn't sell as many pay-per-views these days. And UFC's gained more popularity. I think WWE could benefit from taking just a little bit of the style, still keep it pro wrestling, because, you know, I wouldn't want every match in at a chokeout, but have a little bit of that aggressive, no holds bar sort of thing. Like, you know, feature Kurt Angle in a few of those more. You know what I mean? I think Paul Heyman's right on that. I think wrestling could benefit from that.
I've often wondered with all the ventures that Vince has tied himself into with the XFL and the old WBF. Yeah. I've often wondered what would happen if he decided, hey, I don't think MMA is a bad way to go, and start up an MMA league of his own.
Why not?
You know, and turn the old WWE logo upside down. Make it MME. Mixed martial arts entertainment. I've often wondered. I think in the near future we may see Vince McMahon buy into MMA and start his own organization. You know, there's many of them out there anyway, and as long as that makes money. You know,
and kind of do a little bit of cross promotion between WWE and his mixed martial arts.
I've often thought maybe that's a way to go for Vince, but we'll see and we'll find out. That being said, we are done with episode number 31. Future episodes haven't really got any planned out yet, but email us 10minutemarks@yahoo.com. Leave comments down here at the bottom.
Follow us on Twitter as well.
Follow us on Twitter. Give us show ideas. What do you want to hear about? I've been kind of out of loop because I haven't had cable here lately, but I got it now, so we'll get back into covering current events. But for now, I do believe that we are done!